Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kami, and I'm a completionist who reviews every game after 100% trophy completion. Today's title is one of the most unnecessary yet welcome sequels I've played. After completing the Jak and Daxter trilogy, it seems I'm not quite finished with the series. Jak X Combat Racing was Sony's competitor to Mario Kart back in 2005. But how well does it compete? Honestly, I think this game was pretty awesome. However, there are definitely some cracks which I'll get into. With that all said, allow me to delve into what this game has to offer.
You are the best, and you will race for me.
Never forget it!
I expect you're all riled up by now.
Jak X Combat Racing is obviously a racing game, with a major emphasis on, you guessed it, combat. This entails high-octane action with intense gameplay constantly. The game features 6 races that alternate from the Jak and Daxter series. Every race ranges from roughly 4 to 5 minutes in length, allowing for plenty of time to recover from any mistakes made. Movement-wise, this game feels buttery smooth. The power slide from Jak 3 feels way better, and I always felt the vehicles had some real weight to them. Controls are one of the most important parts in a game, and even if I'm losing, the responsive controls give me a chance to make a comeback. To advance your position, the game provides power-ups to annihilate your competition. In terms of options, there's a lot of offensive power-ups to quickly dispose of an opponent. They require a lot more precision and timing compared to Mario Kart, creating a more rewarding experience when you finally take someone down. The defensive options are less effective in my eyes. I mostly use them to deflect missiles, since I found myself unable to utilize them to get kills. They're not bad, but I feel their application is less useful, especially with the smoke or oil. Game mode wise, there's a lot here, but unfortunately it's a lot of the same thing. This isn't an issue specifically with this game, but racing games and similar genres, such as fighting games. I completed this game in roughly 15 or so hours. Even though there's modes such as Time Freeze Rally, Rush Hour, Turbo Dash, and Death Race, they all feel the same. It's constant driving through very similar things such as destroying an object, boosting your speed, and trying to obtain a score. Thankfully, the length of each challenge always makes it feel like a gold rank is achievable, alleviating my frustrations when I lost. The other game modes are similar to the battle modes in Mario Kart. They involve capturing an item and destroying your opponents. In terms of modes, it's a lot of the same core gameplay with tweaked objectives. I suggest playing this game in short bursts. Playing this game constantly is draining when every activity feels similar and the stages repeat. Jak X also offers a vehicle upgrade system. Honestly, I never use this at all. The cars feel almost identical. The biggest difference for me was how the steering handled, especially when boosting. It's not that there are no differences, but rather the differences feel minimal. I never upgraded a car and never felt I needed to, because I feel just luck and skill were enough. The AI feel downright unfair in this game. There were times I felt robbed. I had frustrating losses due to lucky power-ups given to the AI despite dominating the race. The AI has a lot of obvious rubber banding to maintain the intensity of action, but that comes at the cost of fairness. If I'm in first place and I get blown up, I end up in 5th or 6th place. If the AI gets blown up, I've seen them appear next to me in first. If I'm driving, there is always pressure from the AI, no matter how much I boost. If I'm in 6th, there's certainly a cutoff where I can't catch up. The story of this game was a major weak point for me throughout the entire experience. If the trilogy were films, then Jak X feels like a made-for-TV film. The story continues from Jak 3 as a fresh slate. The premise is absolutely ridiculous, and it makes no sense why it would happen. The motivation isn't convincing, however I understand it's a racing game. The issue is that this is a Jak and Daxter game. Jak and Daxter have no moments that are about them. They work together, but they have no character moments. Daxter has barely anything to do in this game at all, which is very disappointing. The cutscenes are frequent at least, making progress feel rewarded. The antagonist is predictable and frankly unimpressive compared to the previous titles. The supporting cast were barely noticeable, and frankly they added nothing. They act as a team in the story, however, When you're racing in the game, they're your opponent. This made me not care about characters such as Torn, Ashlyn, and especially Rain. The setting of Crash City is just a city. There's not much that makes it stand out. Haven City had somewhat of a unique feel, but Crash City didn't physically embody any of those characteristics. The other locations include a snow location with no story relevancy and Spargus City. Ultimately, this resulted in what felt like nice nods to the previous trilogy setting-wise. Visually, the game looks really good for a game that's 20 years old. Despite Crash City having a disappointing visual aesthetic, the models and textures look great for a PlayStation 2 title. A lot of it can't be appreciated since you're zooming around at high speeds, but there's a lot of missed details in the textures. The destructible elements were definitely a nice touch as they added to the intensity of the driving. That goes the same for the destructible car armor and subsequent explosions. If there's anything they needed to nail, it was the emphasis on chaos and destructive vehicular combat. They definitely did that visually. This felt further emphasized with great visual effects such as motion blur and camera zooms sucking in the player's view and creating a more intensive perspective. As I played the PS4 version of this game, it's important to know that this was not a port, it was emulated. This version had slight frame drops, which felt noticeable when dealing with such fast-paced action. The cutscenes looked very rough. I played this on a 1080 display, and every cutscene had some awful grain. The gameplay looked good, but dated with text elements and textures. There's a lot of detail in the textures, however, the game has just aged, and it would benefit from some touch-ups. Audio-wise, the game sounds so awesome. Every single race had an excellent backing track. Every song had my blood pumping as I blasted through the competition. Quality-wise, I had a small amount of audio issues with it cutting out, but I suspect that's due to the emulation process. The characters sounded great. Nobody did a poor job acting-wise. I just felt there wasn't enough material for Jak and Daxter to really say anything significant. That goes for the rest of the cast. You can excuse it for being a racing game, and I generally would. However, this is a Jak and Daxter game. Once the bar has been set so high, it's hard to bring it down without it feeling noticeable. The sound effects were an excellent complement to the gameplay. Every effect fit perfectly, from boosting and drifting, scrolling through the UI, and obtaining items. Every sound felt impactful and meaningful. Thankfully, the trophies for this game weren't too much of a grind. Most of the trophies can be achieved for completing all races with a gold ranking. By the time all the gold rankings are achieved, you'll have enough currency to purchase the unlockables. If you wish to save yourself time, save your profile multiple times. After buying the upgrades, load into a new save and buy them again. All the vehicles will come after hitting story benchmarks. All of the trophies such as Road Rage or Out of My Way can be done as you're grinding for those gold medals. Jak X is an unnecessary sequel, but I'm glad to have played it. It's a complete thrill ride, and it was a worthy competitor to Mario Kart. Unfortunately, we never got a sequel to Jak X. What did you think about Jak X? I'd love to know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching.